I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Her profile picture, the same smile she'd given me last night, was now on a dating app. Looking for fun, it said. We were supposed to be exclusive. I was scrolling through my phone when a friend sent me a screenshot. "Isn't this your girlfriend?" he asked. My thumb froze. There she was, my Emma, on a dating app. Her bio read, "New in town, looking for someone to show me around." We'd been together for 6 months, and she'd promised me exclusivity. I felt sick. The room spun, and I dropped the phone. The screen cracked, but I didn't care. My mind raced. Was this a mistake? A fake profile? Or had she been lying all along? I couldn't sit with this any longer. I stormed into our flat, keys jingling in my hand, and found Emma lounging on the couch, sipping tea. She looked up, her face lighting up with a smile that now felt like a mockery. "Hey, you're home early," she said, setting her cup down. I stood in the doorway, the screenshot burning in my pocket. "Emma, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but my insides churning. She tilted her head, confused. "What's wrong?" I pulled out my phone, the cracked screen reflecting the dim light, and shoved it toward her. Her eyes widened as she read her own profile. "Is this you?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Emma's face turned pale, and she shook her head, as if denying the reality in front of her. I don't know how that got there," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Someone must have made it as a joke." I crossed my arms, unconvinced. "A joke? With your real photos and your name?" She bit her lip, avoiding my gaze. "I swear, I didn't do it. You have to believe me." Her words felt hollow, like she was reciting lines from a script. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but the anger was bubbling up. "If it's not you, then who is it? And why are they using your pictures?" The room fell silent, except for the ticking of the wall clock. Emma's eyes darted around, anywhere but at me. I felt the weight of her avoidance like a physical blow. "Emma," I said, my voice low and firm, "if there's something you're not telling me, now's the time." She took a shaky breath, her shoulders slumping. I don't know what to say. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Her words were vague, and my patience was wearing thin. "You didn't mean for it. What does that even mean?" She looked up, tears welling in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. "Not yet." Emma finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I made the profile a long time ago, before we were serious. I forgot to delete it." I scoffed, unable to hide my disbelief. "Before we were serious? We've been exclusive for months, Emma. Months." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, and I'm sorry. I didn't think it mattered. I wasn't using it." I shook my head, feeling the first cracks in my trust. "It's not about using it, Emma. It's about the fact that it's there. That you lied." I couldn't shake the feeling that Emma wasn't telling me the whole truth. Her explanation felt too convenient, like she was trying to patch up a hole in a sinking boat. "If you forgot about it, why is the profile still active?" I asked, my voice sharp. She hesitated, then mumbled something about not knowing how to delete it. "You didn't try?" I pressed. She shook her head, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. The rain outside seemed to match the storm brewing inside me. I decided to dig deeper. While Emma was in the bathroom, I grabbed her phone from the kitchen counter. Her lock screen was a picture of us, smiling at a festival last summer. It felt like a mockery now. I unlocked it with her passcode, our anniversary date, which I'd thought was sweet, and opened the dating app. The last login was 2 days ago. My chest tightened. There were messages too, casual chats with men she'd matched with. One read, "Free tonight, winky face." I felt like I'd been punched. Emma came back into the room, drying her hands on a towel. She froze when she saw me holding her phone. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice shaking. I held up the phone, the chat window still open. "You've been active on this app. 2 days ago. Messaging people." Her face drained of color. I don't know what to say, she stammered. You said you forgot about it. I threw the words at her like daggers. She took a step back, her eyes filling with tears. I'm so sorry, she whispered, but it felt too late. How could you do this? I asked, my voice breaking. We were supposed to be exclusive. I trusted you. Emma covered her face with her hands, sobbing now. I know, and I hate myself for it, she cried. But it doesn't change anything, does it? I shouted, throwing her phone onto the couch. It landed with a thud, the screen lighting up with another notification. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make the pain stop. Instead, I turned and walked out of the flat, the rain soaking me instantly. I wandered the streets aimlessly, the rain soaking through my jacket. My mind raced with questions, accusations, and memories. How long had this been going on? Did she ever really love me? Or was I just a placeholder until someone better came along? The streets of England were quiet, the only sound the patter of rain and my footsteps. I passed a pub, a couple laughing inside, and felt a pang of jealousy. What did they have that we didn't? Trust. Honesty. Things I thought we had too. My phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the silence of the rainy night. It was my best friend, Jake. I hesitated before answering. You okay, mate? You sound like you've seen a ghost, he said, his voice concerned. I sighed, the weight of everything crashing down. It's Emma, I started, my voice cracking. I found her on a dating app. She's been messaging other guys. There was a pause on the other end, then Jake cursed under his breath. You serious? Where are you? I'm coming to get you. 10 minutes later, Jake's car pulled up beside me. I slid into the passenger seat, shivering from the cold. Thanks for coming, I muttered, wiping rainwater from my face. Jake handed me a towel from the back seat. No worries. What's the plan? I stared out the window, the city lights blurring with the rain. I don't know. I can't go back to the flat. Not yet. Jake nodded, his jaw tight. You can crash at my place. We'll figure this out in the morning. The drive to Jake's place was quiet, the only sound the hum of the engine and the rain hitting the windshield. I replayed the night's events in my head, each moment sharper than the last. Jake glanced at me occasionally, but he didn't push. He knew me well enough to know I needed time to process. When we finally pulled into his driveway, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Thanks, mate, I said, my voice hoarse. For everything. Jake's place was small but cozy, with a worn couch and a stack of video games in the corner. He tossed me a blanket and a pillow. Make yourself at home. I'll grab us some beers. I nodded, collapsing onto the couch. The blanket smelled faintly of laundry detergent, a stark contrast to the chaos of my thoughts. I closed my eyes, but sleep felt impossible. Every time I tried, Emma's face flashed in my mind, her smile now tainted with betrayal. Jake sat down next to me, cracking open a beer and handing one to me. You want to talk about it? He asked, his tone gentle. I took a long sip, the cold bitterness of the beer matching my mood. I don't know what to do, Jake. I love her, but how can I trust her after this? Jake sighed, leaning back. Love's not enough sometimes, mate. Trust is the foundation. If that's broken, everything else crumbles. His words hit hard, but they made sense. After Jake went to bed, I stayed up, staring at the ceiling. The rain had stopped, but the silence felt deafening. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos of Emma and me, laughing at a concert, cooking dinner together, cuddling on the couch. Each memory now felt like a lie. How could I have been so blind? Or maybe I just didn't want to see it. Either way, the damage was done. I woke up on Jake's couch with a stiff neck and a headache. Sunlight streamed through the window, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions I'd been through. Jake was in the kitchen, frying eggs and humming to himself. Morning, he said, flipping an egg. Sleep well. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. Not really. My brain wouldn't shut off. He slid a plate of eggs and toast in front of me. Figured. But hey, Food helps. Eat up. As I ate, Jake leaned against the counter, arms crossed. So, what's the plan? You gonna talk to her? I sighed, stabbing at my eggs. I don't know. Part of me wants answers, but part of me just wants to walk away. Jake nodded. Can't stay here forever, though. You need to decide what you want. His words were blunt, but they were true. I pushed my plate away, my appetite gone. After breakfast, I went for a walk to clear my head. The streets were quiet, the rain from last night leaving everything fresh and clean. I thought about Emma, about us, about everything we'd built. Was it all a lie? Or was there a chance she had a reason, an explanation that made sense? I didn't know, but I realized I needed to hear her side. Not for her, but for me. Back at Jake's, I grabbed my phone and typed out a text to Emma. We need to talk. Meet me at the park by the river at 3. I hit send before I could change my mind. My heart raced as I waited for her response. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. I'll be there, she wrote. It was short, simple, but it was something. The hours until 3 felt like days. I paced Jake's flat, my mind racing with what I'd say, what she'd say, how it would end. Jake tried to distract me with a game, but I couldn't focus. You're like a lion in a cage, he joked, but his eyes were sympathetic. Just breathe, mate. Whatever happens, you'll handle it. By the time I got to the park, my nerves were shot. The river sparkled in the sunlight, and a few people were out walking their dogs or jogging. I found a bench and sat down, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. A few minutes later, Emma appeared, her face pale and her eyes red like she'd been crying. She walked over slowly, her steps hesitant. Emma sat down next to me, a safe distance between us. Hi, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her, my heart pounding. Why, Emma? Why the dating app? She took a deep breath, her hands twisting in her lap. I don't know. I was scared. Scared of us getting too serious, scared of losing myself. It was stupid, and I'm so sorry. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Scared of losing yourself? Or scared of committing to me? I asked, my voice sharp. She flinched but didn't look away. Both, I guess. I know it's no excuse, but I was confused. I love you, but I was scared of what that meant. I closed my eyes, trying to process her words. Love wasn't enough if it came with fear and lies. After Emma's confession, the air between us felt heavy, like it might crush us both. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, to ask how she could be so selfish. Another part just wanted to walk away and never look back. But I sat there, silent, staring at the river. The water flowed steadily, oblivious to our mess. Finally, I broke the silence. Do you want to be with me, Emma? Really be with me? She looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. Yes, she whispered. But I don't know if I can give you what you need. I'm broken, and I don't know how to fix it. Her honesty was painful, but at least it was something. Her words made something click inside me. I loved her, but love wasn't enough to fix what was broken between us. Trust was shattered, and I didn't know if it could ever be repaired. Maybe we both need time to figure things out, I said, my voice steady but hollow. She nodded, her shoulders slumping like she'd been holding her breath. We sat there for a few more minutes, neither of us speaking. Then, I stood up. I need space, Emma. I don't know what else to say. She looked up, her eyes pleading, but she didn't argue. I understand, she said softly. I turned and walked away, my heart heavy but my mind cleared. I walked back to Jake's place, my thoughts a jumble. The streets were busy, people rushing to and fro, but I felt alone. Had I made the right decision? Or had I just thrown away something that could have been fixed? I didn't know, and the uncertainty ate at me. When I got back to Jake's, he was playing a game on his console. He paused it when he saw me. How'd it go? He asked, his voice careful. I dropped onto the couch, exhausted. I don't know. I told her we need space. I don't know if it's the right call, but it's all I've got right now. Jake nodded, handing me a controller. Sometimes not knowing is the hardest part. But you're doing what you need to do. That night, I slept in Jake's spare room. The bed was comfortable, but my mind wouldn't shut off. I thought about Emma, about the good times, about the betrayal. I thought about what could have been and what would never be. The room was dark, but my heart felt heavier than ever. The next morning, I woke up early, my mind still racing. I went to the kitchen to make coffee and found Jake already there, sipping his own cup. "Rough night?" he asked, sliding a mug toward me. I nodded, taking a sip. "Yeah, but I think I made the right call. I just need time to figure out what's next." A few days later, I was at Jake's, trying to distract myself with a book, when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A woman's voice came through, hesitant but clear. "Is this your name?" she asked. "Yes," I replied, confused. "I think you should know something about Emma," she said. My heart dropped. The woman introduced herself as Sarah. She explained she'd met Emma on the dating app and had gone on a few dates with her. "I didn't know she had a boyfriend," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "She told me she was single. I just found out the truth, and I thought you should know." I sat there, stunned, the phone feeling heavy in my hand. After the call ended, I sat there, unable to move. Jake walked in, saw my face, and immediately asked, "What happened?" I repeated what Sarah had said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake cursed under his breath. "I'm sorry, mate. That's low, even for her." Anger surged through me, hot and uncontrollable. How could she lie to someone else like that? How could she pretend to be single while we were together? I felt like a fool, like I'd been played the entire time. "I need to get out," I said, standing up abruptly. Jake nodded. "Let's go for a walk." We ended up walking through the park, the same one where I'd confronted Emma. It started to rain, but neither of us cared. The drops felt like a fitting backdrop to my turmoil. How could I have been so blind? I muttered, more to myself than to Jake. He didn't answer, just walked beside me, letting me process. By the time we got back to Jake's, I was exhausted but clear-headed. "I'm done, Jake," I said, collapsing onto the couch. "I can't keep doing this. I need to move on." Jake sat down next to me, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "You're making the right call. You deserve better than this." That night, I sent Emma a text. "It's over, Emma. I can't do this anymore. Don't contact me." I didn't wait for a response. I turned off my phone and went to bed, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Jake made pancakes, and we ate in silence, the comfortable kind. "Thanks for everything," I said, pushing my plate away. "I don't know what I'd do without you." He smiled. "Anytime, mate. That's what friends are for." A week later, I finally went back to the flat I'd shared with Emma. It felt strange being there alone. Her things were still scattered around, a hairbrush on the bathroom counter, her favorite book on the coffee table, her coat hanging by the door. It was like she'd just stepped out, but I knew she wasn't coming back. I sighed, grabbing a box to start packing her stuff. As I packed, I found a photo of us from last Christmas, smiling and happy. It felt like a lifetime ago. I held it for a moment, then placed it carefully in the box. Every item I touched brought back a memory, some good, some painful. I realized how much of my life had been tied to her, and now I had to untangle it all. At the bottom of her drawer, I found a letter addressed to me. It was in Emma's handwriting. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside, she'd written a long apology, explaining her fears and insecurities, but it felt too little, too late. I folded the letter and added it to the box, not wanting to hold on to it any longer. By the end of the day, I'd packed all of Emma's things into boxes. The flat felt emptier than ever, but it was also a relief. I texted her to let her know the boxes were ready for pickup. She replied quickly, "Thanks. I'll send someone for them." I didn't respond. That night, I slept in the flat for the first time since the breakup. The silence was deafening. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how much had changed in just a few weeks. I felt lonely, but I also felt free. It was a strange mix of emotions, but I knew I was on the right path. The next morning, I decided to go for a run to clear my head. The air was crisp, and the streets were quiet. As I ran, I felt my thoughts start to untangle. I thought about the future, about what I wanted for myself. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. After my run, I stopped at a local coffee shop. As I waited for my order, I noticed a group of friends laughing together at a nearby table. It made me smile, reminded me of the good times I'd had with Jake and others. I realized I wasn't alone, even if it felt that way sometimes. As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed. It was Jake. Heard you're back at the flat. Want to grab dinner tonight? My treat. I smiled, typing back, sounds good. Thanks, mate. It was a small thing, but it felt like a step forward. That evening, Jake and I met at our favorite pub. We ordered burgers and beers, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like myself again. We talked about everything, the breakup, the future, even silly memories from our teenage years. It was exactly what I needed. As we left the pub, Jake slapped me on the back. You're going to be okay, mate. I know it. I nodded, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. I know I will, I said. Thanks for being there for me. A few weeks later, I was at a local bookstore, browsing the fiction section. I hadn't been there in months, and it felt good to lose myself in the titles. As I reached for a book, I heard a familiar voice. Hey, your name. I turned to see Emma standing there, holding a novel. My heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. We stood there, neither of us speaking. Finally, I cleared my throat. Emma, what are you doing here? She shifted her weight, her eyes darting around. I was just browsing. I didn't expect to see you. The air between us felt heavy, charged with unspoken words. Emma took a step closer, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry. For everything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I had to say it. I looked at her, my heart a mix of anger and sadness. You're right. You don't. I turned to leave, but her next words stopped me. Can we talk? Against my better judgment, I agreed to sit down with her at a nearby cafe. We sat across from each other, the table between us feeling like a barrier. I've been in therapy, she said, her voice trembling. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I'm trying to be better. Emma went on to explain her fears, her insecurities, her inability to fully commit. I was scared of losing myself, of losing you. So I sabotaged it before it could hurt more. I listened, but her words didn't ease the pain. You didn't just sabotage us, Emma. You lied. You betrayed me. After a long, painful conversation, I realized there was nothing left to say. I appreciate you trying to explain, but it doesn't change anything. We're done, Emma. For good. She nodded, her shoulders slumping. I understand. I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I left the cafe and walked home, the weight of the encounter still heavy on my chest. The streets were bustling, but I felt alone. I thought about Emma's words, about her attempts to change, but I knew it wasn't my responsibility to fix her. I had to focus on fixing myself. When I got home, Jake was there, playing a game on his laptop. He looked up when I walked in. How'd it go? I dropped onto the couch, sighing. It's over. For real this time. I don't think I'll ever understand her, but I don't have to. Jake nodded, closing his laptop. Good. Now you can focus on you. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a new routine. I started going to the gym regularly, picked up painting again, and spent more time with friends. It wasn't always easy, but I was moving forward, one day at a time. One evening, as I sat on the balcony with a cup of tea, I watched the sunset. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I was ready for it.